music with my bro. Willing to dig it, yes or no? Here we go on with the show, the Hear Me Out Bro podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 30 of the Hear Me Out Bro podcast. My name is Clark, and I'd like to introduce my brother Erik.
Hey everybody.
As always, you can find our playlists by searching for @HMOBP on YouTube. We also have a Facebook group where you can find links to all of our podcasts, and it's the HMOB on Facebook. We have an email address if you want to send us feedback, questions, comments, show suggestions. That email address is hearmeoutbropodcast@gmail.com. And I haven't fully ticked over. We're recording this episode, a little peek behind the curtains. We're recording this episode right before my birthday. And so I'm like the needle on like the wheel of fortune. Like I haven't quite clicked over into 51 yet. So if you listen to last week's episode, I provided the playlist and Erik had to listen to everything that I put on there, whether he liked it or not. So we decided to switch it up, and Erik is going to take over the episode, and he's going to play one of his favorite bands. I've heard a couple of their songs, and I've liked what I've heard so far. I appreciate their sense of humor and their vision of the world, and they make cool music. So this is going to be the primer, Erik's primer on the Lemon Twigs. So take it away, Erik.
Cool. To start out, like the Lemon Twigs, they're from Long Island, New York.
From where?
And they're brothers.
Where are they from?
New York, Long Island.
You mean Long Island?
Long Island, yeah.
It's LON'GISLAND.
Okay. Yeah, so they're brothers from Long Island, and the older brother, Brian, was born in 1997, and he's named after Brian Wilson. Mm-hmm. And the younger brother is Michael, born in 1999, and he is named after Michael Senna. So it's Brian and Michael Diodario.
Okay.
And their father, Ronnie Diodario, was a singer-songwriter, played in like power pop kind of bands. He was active from 1976 to 1982, and he put a few albums out, kind of like a mix between Beatles and Beach Boys power pop kind of stuff. Cool. And he wrote a song that the Carpenters recorded but never released. And his music is interesting. If you're into that Beatlesy, Beach Boysy type of power pop, it's worth checking out their father, Ronnie Diodario. So ever since they were little kids, they were into acting and singing and playing instruments. Their dad always had instruments and recording stuff around the house.
Nice.
And recording equipment around the house. And when they were young, they started a band called MOTP, which stands for Members of the Press.
Nice.
So the first song we're going to check out is Baba O'Reilly by The Who, performed by Members of the Press. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Don't you love them already?
Pretty much. I mean, it's like, you're already like, oh, okay, like a bunch of kids. All right. Like it's, you know, the sound, like the recording's not super great, but it's like, I mean, yeah, they all know what they're doing. And then like, okay, yeah, they're all talented for being little kids. And then right at the moment where I was like, wait, the little drummer brother is like the real star here. Like the camera zooms in on him as he's doing all those Keith Moon fills, and it's like, Uh-huh.
Oh man. Yeah. I think when I first mentioned them on our podcast, I said if they ever make one of those biopics of the Who,
Mm-hmm.
they have to have him play Keith Moon.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was thinking of, like your friend's kid who is possibly the reincarnation in podcast canon. He's the reincarnation of Cliff Burton.
Yeah.
The younger brother in show canon is the reincarnation of Keith Moon. He looks like him too, but he can play
he
like
acts
him
like
too.
him.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, they both were actors too when they were little kids,
Mm-hmm.
and they've actually like done some stuff. So the older brother Brian, he played Flounder in The Little Mermaid on Broadway.
Huh.
And he's featured singing on the original cast album.
Whoa.
That was released when he was little. And then he also played Gavroche in the Broadway production of Les Miserables.
Les Miserables.
What?
Les Miserables.
No, it says here Les Miserables. Oh, Les Miserable.
Uh-huh.
As somebody
who just got their high school transcripts, I barely passed 2 years of French, so it's Les Miserables.
Okay, well, he played Gavroche.
Okay,
in there, like
not
kind
familiar
of a
with the character.
Kid or whatever. Yeah, me neither. Not a big Broadway guy. But
I've only seen the movie adaptation because it had Russell Crowe in it.
Oh yeah. Also, the younger brother, Michael, who we were just talking about, they're both multi-instrumentalists. They play keyboards, guitar, drums. When they record their albums, just the two brothers make the albums.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have like a circle of friends who join them on tour.
Okay.
Including the keyboard player in there.
Mm-hmm.
He's still currently in their band today.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
They've been friends since they were like 12. Or probably even younger.
Probably even younger.
That's awesome.
Just elementary school. So the younger brother, Michael, he was actually on a sitcom with Terry Crews when they made Are We There Yet? Ice Cube made Are We There Yet? Like a feature movie. And then he decided to make it into
I believe there were 3 of them.
Yeah. So he decided to make a sitcom out of it too that had like 3 seasons.
Okay. And
Ice Cube played the friend, but like the main family was Terry Crews, aka President Camacho.
Yes.
Was the father on there.
I mean, if Terry Crews needs an introduction.
Yeah. So Michael D'Addario played the part of Frank, who was like the weird neighbor kid that would always come over.
Huh.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was difficult. A difficult acting role.
Yeah. And then also he was in this movie that we're going to play a clip of next. And this movie, there's a thing called the Science of Scare. This organization called Broadband Choices. I think they're out of the UK.
Okay.
They started doing these studies to find out what the scariest movies of all time were. And they did it scientifically.
Yeah, I think I'm familiar with this.
Yeah, so it's called the Science of Scare Project.
Mm-hmm.
They have 250 panel members, and they hook them up to, heart rate machines and things like that, and have them watch all these scary movies. So they did it. They do it every few years.
Yeah.
For new movies that come out and things like that.
Yeah, I think I've watched a couple documentary things or like things on YouTube about the Science of Scare.
So what they do, they used to just, for jump scares and stuff, they would see what your average heart rate and what your peak heart rate was while watching the movie. And then people said, well, but there's like slow burn kind of anxiety movies.
Yeah, so they couldn't just do it with like an EKG. They had to like...
Well, so yeah, they started mapping heart rate variability. And the lower your heart rate variability is, the more anxious you are. And so they added that in. And every time they've done it, this movie, Sinister, has always come out as being scientifically the scariest movie.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everybody's going to have their opinions on what the scariest movie is, but this is like scientifically proven.
I got opinions.
Yeah. 250 people watched this movie and they all like are the most anxious and freak out the most, according to like what their physiology is telling the sensors.
Yeah, let's put a pin in that, because I've got more to say on the other side.
Well, because like everybody would say, oh yeah, The Exorcist is totally scary, but
it is, and like it ramps up in a really cool way, but then it's like the ending is just like so over the top and ridiculous that it was like, I thought it was kind of hilarious. It's like
according to the Science of Scare, it only scored like a 70.
Yeah.
Which is like not even in the top 20 or something of being scary.
Like, I remember being super stressed out because of my old job and seeing it part 2, I think, in the theater. And like Erica and I loved, like I've always loved horror movies, thanks to our neighbor when I was a little kid, Neil Perlmutter.
Yeah, and I'm not really a fan of horror movies.
I'm a fan.
All.
I love them. There's a lot of really terrible ones, but there's also like there's a lot of awesome ones. And then movies that aren't horror movies that the directors claim they're not horror movies. Like Erica and everyone else in the theater was just like freaking out. Because it's like,
oh man, the
first movie's scarier, but like the second movie like kind of pulls everything together, and like they're both well done. Like I'm not knocking them at all, but it was like my variable heart whatever was like topped out.
Oh man.
And so because I was so stressed out from work that it was just like I was just sitting there and being like, dude, like
this isn't so bad.
Like I'll take a psychotic alien clown any day of the week.
Oh man.
Look, all they have to do is not be scared of him and then hit him with a baseball bat and see everything's fine. I can't do that with my a-hole boss. I'll get in trouble. It'll make things worse. If I tell him that I'm not scared of him and then I hit him with a baseball bat, like I wish I could.
Oh man.
Anyway.
So yeah, Sinister, it stars Ethan Hawke, and he plays a true crime author.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of has writer's block, and he's running out of money trying to get another book out. And so he moves his family into this house to kind of get his creative juices flowing. And it turns out like a family was murdered there or something. And so, I don't know, a bunch of crazy stuff unfolds from there. But so this is the scene that everybody talks about with Michael D'Addario from Sinister. So.
Yeah, and if you're a writer, find another way to overcome your writer's block. From all the movies I've ever seen, it never turns out well. From The Changeling to Funny Farm. It's never
well, I'm not going to watch. Yeah, and I'm not going to watch this movie because I don't like horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to, if I do watch horror movies, I'm not going to start out with the one that is like ranked as the scariest ever.
Right.
But apparently he does get his family moved out of the house.
Oh, that's good.
So
in time.
That's what the internet says. I don't know if they're joking or what, but I'm not going to watch it to find out.
Maybe I'll watch
anyways,
it.
but I can handle like a 3-minute clip starring Michael D'Addario.
Okay.
Because it's relevant to the Lemon Twigs.
Michael D'Addario as Trevor. Yeah, pretty well done. They use a lot of like the super low bass, like like tension, like compression. You feel kind of smashed down by the like rumble.
Yeah, you feel like a weight on you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks pretty good. And like, I don't know, Ethan Hawke's not my favorite actor, but like I've enjoyed everything he's ever been in. Like,
yeah, I wouldn't be like,
underrated.
a new Ethan Hawke film is out.
Right.
I need to go see it.
Right.
But yeah, I was just listening to another podcast where they were talking about that one where they filmed it over like 25 years or something like that. They were recommending it, but it stars Ethan Hawke.
Oh,
but they started out.
yeah.
Oh, okay. So he's actually one of the parents. Patricia Arquette and Ethan Hawke are the parents. It's called Boyhood, and it was filmed from 2002 to 2013. So over a period of 11 years.
Nice.
So it wasn't 25 years.
Still,
and he wasn't the
11
kid in the
years. Like, that's
a long project.
That's a long project. Like, especially if it's just the filming. Like, there's got to be every bit as much like production, if not more so. Like some movies take longer than that only because they're like in production hell or whatever. Like nothing's actually happening. But to actually like start a project and then finish it 11 years later, that's a lot of commitment. Plus, Patricia Arquette's always awesome in movies.
Yeah.
And TV shows. She's in Severance.
Oh, cool. Okay, this next one is just like a CBS morning show kind of feature.
Okay.
Of them when they put their first album that they put out that was produced by the guy from Foxygen. They had a cassette that they released that was just kind of stuff they did in their parents' basement. And it's just like really trippy out there stuff. It's interesting, but it was like a cassette only release from 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And it was called What We Know. So it's like old, like multi-track cassette compilation stuff that they put together.
Okay.
That was recorded over the years. So yeah, that was their first album, What We Know. And then in 2016, they had their first like label release called Do Hollywood. The Lemon Twigs Do Hollywood. This is a biopic feature from CBS Mornings where they featured the Lemon Twigs when they released their Do Hollywood album in 2016. So it gives a little background on them, and then they have a in-studio performance of them performing the song These Words.
Nice.
So I don't know if it's a bit of a chicken and an egg thing. It's like, do I like them because they remind me of bands that I like? Or do I think it's more that it's less that and more that I like them because they play music the way music was played back when music was good.
Right.
So it is kind of a little bit of both. It is kind of the chicken. It is kind of the egg, like,
right.
They do remind me of, like The Who and the Beatles, the Beach Boys, Billy Preston.
Yes.
A lot of people compare them to Todd Rundgren's Utopia.
Okay. Not familiar.
And they kind of have little proggy elements.
A little bit.
They have power pop elements. Just, I don't know. They're kind of all over the place.
Right.
But it's all a little bit crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you do want to hear more members of the press, the bass player kid in that first video, his mother has a bunch of their old videos up on YouTube. And there's like a half-hour concert that they did at their high school called MOTP, Live from the Media Lab. And it's like one of those high school media lab things they do during school. And they do a half-hour set with a bunch of really cool cover songs. They start off with some Pink Floyd, and then they do a Billy Preston song. They do it really well.
Nice.
Yeah, so if you want to check out more members of the Press, the bass player for their band back then, his mother has a bunch of their old stuff up on YouTube. So this next one is a song also from the Lemon Twigs Do Hollywood from 2016. And this is from a French YouTube channel where they do interviews and then have like in-studio performances. But this is called a takeaway concert, and they decided to just kind of walk around the streets of Paris with a couple guitars. And it just shows, how they can perform and do the songs, and, they're both multi-instrumentalists. So this is the Lemon Twigs, As Long as We're Together.
All the perplexed Parisians.
Yeah,
walking by.
What is this? But I don't know. They're so talented,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the falsetto got a little old, but
yeah, it's on purpose.
Yeah, it's on purpose. But yeah, the song's cool.
Yeah, it's a really good song. That's not how it is on the album.
Right.
It's just them with guitars walking around Paris.
Right.
But it makes for a cool video.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see them in the wild.
Nice.
Yeah. So this first album came out and people were like, oh, this is interesting. These guys are pretty good. It's like, what are they going to do next? So, they were getting more and more attention. So they got an advance to make their next album. Well, they made an EP in 2017 called Brothers of Destruction, which is worth checking out. But I'm not going to feature any of that. It's a 4-song EP or 5-song EP.
Okay.
But so they started working on their next big album that was going to follow up the Lemon Twigs Do Hollywood. And they took their advance money and they bought a 24-track tape machine off eBay and put it in their parents' basement in Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
And they started recording the Lemon Twigs Go to School. And the Lemon Twigs Go to School, which was released in 2018, is a musical concept album.
Yeah, you've
about a chimpanzee
played some of this
that is adopted by human parents and raised as a real boy.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to school.
Didn't they just adapt this into a movie?
Maybe it'd be cool if they did.
No, that's
that's
better, man.
Oh, okay. Right. Maybe it is. Maybe they took their inspiration from Goes to School. So it's about a chimpanzee who's raised as a real boy and goes to school, and all his interactions and feelings that he goes through, adjusting to all that. And kind of in that last video, they said, oh, that kind of sounds like Tenacious D. I'm sure they're Tenacious D fans if they realize that.
Right.
But sort of like how in Pick of Destiny, how Tenacious D had Meatloaf play the father.
Right.
Because they were really into Todd Rundgren and Utopia. They got Todd Rundgren to play the father.
Nice.
On Lemon Twigs Goes to School. And so had Todd Rundgren and a full string section come down to their parents' basement and record parts for this album.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. So this probably might have been around the time that Questlove and Elton John got off the train. I'm not 100% sure, but
right.
Yeah, it seemed like, everybody thought, oh wow, you have your chance to make your big follow-up album.
Right.
And you make a musical about a chimpanzee going to school.
Yeah, this reminds me more and more about, we've already mentioned Rush in this episode. The like Kiss took them under their wing and like showed them the ropes of the road, and it hadn't been released. They got like a pre-release copy or something, or like somehow they played the B side of Caress of Steel for Paul Stanley, and he was like, "What?
Oh, man.
Can't you guys just play rock and roll?" So it's like, oh yeah, no, we're not the band you thought we were. We got bigger ideas.
Yeah, that's a good parallel, because this kind of is like their 2112 or something, you know,
right.
like,
or their Fountain of Lamneth.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, we're going to do things our way,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Yeah. So this first cut is the Lemon Twigs and this is when the chimpanzee Shane gets a girlfriend, like hooks up with the most popular girl at school. So this is Queen of My School, and this is live from KEXP.
Nice.
Oh man,
that's a good song.
Funny.
Yeah, this isn't a fashion podcast, but like
right. I was going to talk about that
in the CBS song or the CBS video.
Oh, the CBS Morning.
Yeah, CBS Mornings
feature.
The keyboard player had that Aloha shirt on, and then in this one he had like the most James May shirt I've seen on anyone other than James May.
Oh man, interesting you would point that out, because I was going to talk about the other fashion choices in this video. Like, weren't we just talking about wearing like
the Roddy Piper
shirts?
Yeah,
he's wearing that, like, I think it's a sleeveless T-shirt, but it could be a vest or something. But yeah,
it's a
Roddy Piper, iron-on decals on the front. Yep. Oh, also the one the MOTP live from the Media Lab that I was talking about earlier. At the beginning of that, they dedicate it to Randy Macho Man Savage.
Nice.
To dedicate their set to him. So I guess they're into pro wrestling too.
Well, who isn't?
It just makes them all that much more relatable.
Yeah, pro wrestling's cool.
So that was Shane singing about the queen of his school, Daisy, and they hook up, and he's like in love and like thinks they're like boyfriend, girlfriend. But Daisy was just kind of using him. And around the same time, his parents are becoming disaffected with like having like an adolescent chimp in the house. You know,
right.
It's like his mother couldn't have children, so they adopted a chimp, and kind of the novelty is worn off by this point.
Right. Well,
and he's having a hard time in school. And
when chimpanzees go through sexual maturity, they are no longer the cute little ape that they used to be, and they become violently aggressive. And if you come over to the house unexpectedly with a different haircut, they will rip your face off. So yeah. So this next song is kind of like it's not the big finale, because after this next event and this next song, Shane runs off and goes to live in the trees in the woods, and like starts kind of getting in touch with his like inner monkey and like chilling out a little bit. But this is kind of like the culmination of his school experience. This is live from Rockwood Music Hall, and this is the Lemon Twigs with The Fire. So, yeah, you've played that song for me before. Not that version.
Yeah, there's a good Jimmy Kimmel Live version of that one too.
I think that's the one you played for me.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
But yeah, I mean, just checking these guys out, there's always like some like little discovery, like, what? Wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's that brother energy. And like us growing up together, we always had like this weird sense of humor and like private jokes and things we thought were funny that everybody else thought was totally dumb. You know,
should we share burp speak with the audience?
No, we don't need to do that. But I mean, just I can totally
the concept,
sense,
not
yeah.
We won't subject the listeners to it, but
Well, I think a lot of people are tapped into the burp speak thing.
But yeah, we codified it and gave it a name.
Yeah,
made it a thing.
But I mean, like listening to these guys, I really sense that like brotherly humor energy, you know?
For sure.
So yeah, Goes to School came out in 2018, and they kind of have this pattern of like taking a year to record the album, release the album, and then tour the album, and then start working on the next album. So they have kind of this 2-year album cycle.
Okay.
That they seem to be on. So their next album that came out was Songs for the General Public, which came out in 2020.
Okay.
I mean, they were always kind of had their influences, but you can also tell like what they're more listening to and what's inspiring them. So this one was kind of more glammy.
Okay.
I guess, than like a rock musical kind of vibe. So this first song, I love the way Michael sings on this, because it's like kind of captures all this kind of like, I don't know, Lou Reed or Bruce Springsteen or Bob Dylan, or I don't know. It's like he's like channeling all this kind of like stuff.
Okay.
And
intrigued.
It's like super goofy and fun, and like, I mean, I love glam music. We'll do a glam episode.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love listening to old glam, and it's like nobody does it, but it's like these guys can like, they tap into all the stuff that I like, but it's also like, it's not like they're doing a tribute to it. It's like they're doing their thing. And it like
sounds
taps
like that.
into that
right
vibe. Yeah.
Cool.
So it's like it's organically coming out of them and their whole creative process and their sense of humor and their quirkiness.
Mm-hmm.
So this is from Songs for the General Public. This is Hell on Wheels.
Yeah, I can see what you mean about the Lou Reed thing. It is pretty cool, but yeah.
Dirty screaming white hot jeans.
Nice.
I love that line though. I ripped down the strip looking for some kicks. I picked you up because you look like hell and you were on your own trip. It's, I don't know.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. And like just the whole like big operatic chorus and strings and everything.
Like overproduction.
Yeah.
For
just like how over the top can we make this?
Right.
And like that voice that he's doing.
Oh
man.
It's pretty funny.
I love all that New York early 70s glam stuff. So we're going to do 3 songs from Songs for the General Public. This next one is also kind of glammy, and it's super fun and it rocks. So this is a live version of Leather Together.
Whoa.
Yeah, that one's kind of their current lineup.
Okay.
So the bass player there is the same guy that was wearing the cool shirt.
Keyboard player.
Yeah. And also is the little kid keyboard player from the
first one.
Members of the Press. Right. Yeah, from the very first song. So it's rad that like, you know, from like 3rd grade to like this last album they put out in 2024. It's like still like hanging out with their friends and
Yeah, that's
making
awesome.
good music. Yeah. So that Leather Together song, I like it because it rocks and it's got like kind of like a little Iggy Pop kind of thing to it, and it's all like leather fetishy, like the weirdness of that, you know. So yeah, it's a funny song.
Cool.
So we'll do one more song from Songs for the General Public. This might have been like a kind of a minor hit for them, I guess. So, you know, they made like a real video for it and stuff. So this is Lemon Twigs with The One.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. So, yeah, they were talking to this director guy because they wanted him to direct their video. He was like, well, like, you know, they live in Long Island. So they wanted to film a bunch of stuff in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy was like, well, I'm in Philadelphia right now. And they were like, oh, well, that's right by our grandparents' house. So they like went down to like stay with their grandparents or something. And the guy directed their video for him and like found all these cool places to like
nice
make that weird video.
Mm-hmm.
I love that like Uncle Sam outfit that
Right.
Brian has on. And they're just acting so like so silly and like having such a good time, you know.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like, why isn't anybody paying attention? Why does everybody think we're weirdos?
Yeah.
This is the one. Come on, America. This is the one. Like,
oh man.
Nope. All right. Sell the van for scrap.
The song is like about trying to find like that one love in your life or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like they have that whole like election thing, you know, like
Right.
Yeah. The whole election theme with it and being in Philadelphia. Like that's the thing. It's like they're always going to be entertaining, you know.
Right.
Like, no matter what they're up to, it's gonna like deliver on so many levels. Yeah. Like some of it's like out there and, you know, it's like, I don't know, like every Frank Zappa song isn't your favorite Frank Zappa song.
Right.
But some Frank Zappa songs are amazing.
Right.
I'm always curious to see what the Lemon Twigs are going to do next.
Nice.
So that wraps up 2018's Songs for the General Public. And in 2023, they put out an album called Everything Harmony that had some really good songs on it. I mean, it's kind of the album that all the record companies were probably hoping they would make instead of Goes to School.
Right.
But it's like, I don't know, it really stands like as a body of work. Like there's cool songs on there. It's sonically interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Good songwriting. It's always experimental too, like what they're doing. They're always like kind of pushing their sonic boundaries and stuff.
Right. Would you say it's their moving pictures? They're like, okay, we got all the concept albums out of the way. How about something a little more mainstream?
Yeah, if Goes to School was their 2112 or their Caress of Steel.
Yeah.
Yeah, this would probably be their moving pictures.
Okay.
I don't know. It's really well done. And it came out in 2023, so I think they took a little longer to record it.
Mm.
Maybe took some time off, maybe like matured in certain ways, being young guys.
Okay.
So the first song from Everything Harmony is In My Head.
Nice.
So maybe Everything Harmony, maybe Everything Harmony would be more like their Pet Sounds.
Okay.
Yeah. They're starting to introduce a little more 12-string guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of starting to like...
Yeah, I noticed there was more jangle in that one.
Yeah. And their father's music was really jangly.
Okay.
So I think they did some concerts where their father opened up for them,
Okay, cool.
and they were like the backup band for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it could have been around this time, but yeah, they're starting to adopt kind of more of this like Beach Boys, like jangly power pop kind of sound to it.
Right.
But, it's like you can always kind of compare what they do to something that came before it, but it's always stands on its own
Mm-hmm.
as being like, maybe they listen to that, but this song is like totally original. But this next song is very like 70s, like kind of almost like a Carpenters kind of song.
Huh.
And like their dad did write a song that the Carpenters recorded, but didn't release. So this next song is called Any Time of Day.
Yeah, it's total Carpenters.
Yeah, it's a good song.
Yeah, it's just, man, yeah, they nailed that retro sound too. Probably because they went all Osmonds and now there's 4 of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that part of the video because it's like, that's how they record this stuff. It's just them in the studio, like playing everying.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool that they were able to like capture that in the video. With, like 2 sets of brothers
clones
up there. Yeah. And there was a cool sweater vest in there too.
That's true. Some cool bell bottoms too.
Yeah. I like that blue shirt with like the weird like pearl adorned bow tie or something, or I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, they have the luxury of being like pretty skinny, so they can like wear any thrift store clothes that they find. Okay, we have just a few more. So last year in 2024, they came out with an album called A Dream Is All We Know, and they've kind of settled on this band formation for touring and possibly recording on this album too. And they've really leaned into the jangly power pop thing. And I think when we were talking about it, I don't know, maybe a month ago or something, I was talking to you about the records, Starry Eyes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess I've been listening to a lot of that era of power pop stuff. And their dad was in a kind of power poppy band that would play like CBGBs and stuff back in the early 80s. But they also listened to a lot of Big Star, and they had the drummer from Big Star come and record drums on one of the songs on this album. So this is from the album A Dream Is All We Know. And this song kind of reminds me of the record Starry Eyes. This is My Golden Years.
Man.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's a pretty catchy song. That video was well done. Down to the like Wes Anderson little Piper Cub flying overhead.
You know, when I was like, these guys have been one of my favorite bands for like coming up on the last decade now, just for doing their thing. But when I was a kid, I loved the Beach Boys.
Right.
And I've always loved power pop, like the Knack and the Birds and the Records and Flamin' Groovies. Just like, I don't know, that's one of my favorite kind of music. And it's like, it's all kind of dovetailing, it's like these 2 brothers doing all this crazy music, like almost proggy stuff early on, and now they're like power pop and like great like Beach Boys vocals and like a little bit of Paul McCartney grit on his voice, like when he gets to the end there, like, and they're so talented, they can kind of do whatever they want, but that's why it's so interesting to see what they decide to do, and the type of songs they decide to make, because it's like they could go in any direction,
Right. And like I could totally appreciate that, like a band you already like doing like a genre or like a style that you also like. It's just like it gets that like chocolate and peanut butter vibe.
Yeah.
Because that band we talked
Yeah,
about
it's just
on
all starting to crystallize, you know?
Yeah, that band we talked about on the folk metal episode, Heidevolk. Like, they're one of my favorite bands, easily. And like my entire life, like as long as I've been listening to Led Zeppelin, I've always thought, like, man, like Immigrant Song is such an awesome song. But like, as much as I love Robert Plant and his vocals, like his little like bird warble screechy bits are like, I don't know. And like,
I like them. I don't have any problem with anything the Led Zeppelin has done.
I never understood what he was trying to do until I watched the like 1968 or probably even earlier than that, like 63, the like Kirk Douglas, Ernest Borgnine, The Vikings. Like,
that's a trippy movie.
It's a trippy movie because it's like the costumes and stuff are totally ahistorical, but like it's a pretty, other than Ragnar being thrown into a wolf pit instead of a snake pit, like it's a retelling of Ragnar Lothbrok. And it's like, it's no less historically inaccurate than any other adaptation.
Right.
But like it starts, like the movie starts with like the Vikingers like returning to like their settlement, and like the watchmen or whatever, like blowing these big horns to like announce their arrival. And it's that like da da da, like the thing that
totally makes sense now.
Yeah, that Robert Plant's doing.
Oh, yeah, I never made that connection.
Yeah. That it was like Yeah, like I watched that movie with Dad like 30 years ago, and it was like
they're doing the thing.
They're doing the thing. That's the thing. Okay, it all makes sense now. And and so long tangent over, or short, Heidevolk does a version of Immigrant Song, does a cover of it, and it's like, instead of the Robert Plant like bird vocals, it's like the two baritone,
they have the actual
dudes.
Horns.
No, it's like the two baritone dudes doing that.
Oh man.
And it's like, oh man,
hammering it out.
Yeah, it just sounds all mighty. And it's like, yes, this is what I always wanted. So man, I totally get that, of like, oh man, the band I love is doing the thing I love. Like,
yeah, I hate to admit it, but like when I listen to Led Zeppelin a lot of times, all I hear is John Bonham.
Right.
It's like, oh, what's he doing? Oh, like I'll have to listen to a song a few times so I can like focus on the other people. Because if I just listen to Led Zeppelin, all I hear is John Bonham and like what he's up to.
Right.
The other thing I like about these guys is they're playing the same kind of music that I like to play. You know, like I have my recording studio here and all the instruments. I do need a Rickenbacker guitar.
You do need a Rickenbacker guitar and a pair of purple bell bottoms, though.
I used to have a pair of purple bell bottoms.
I know.
But I got rid of them. And they fit me perfectly, too. They were like actual new old stock Levi's that I found.
Nice.
Still had the tags on them.
Dang.
Like the cardboard thing in the back pocket.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to do a cover of this Flamin' Groovy song, Way Over My Head, and I've been working on it, like learned the song and got the lyrics down and stuff because I wanted to do a cover of it. So I was looking for versions of it on YouTube, and sure enough, the Lemon Twigs do a cover of it in one of their live things. So this is Lemon Twigs, Way Over My Head, the Flamin' Groovy song, live at the Cactus Club.
Dang, that's really good.
Yeah, I love the Flaming Groovies. And they totally do the song justice.
Right.
It's just so catchy and like poppy, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, we'll definitely do a Flamin' Groovies episode before too long, because
Okay.
they're like two of my favorite bands. They're like the American Rolling Stones,
Okay.
and they're also like the American Beatles, and they're a San Francisco band.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's a lot to like there.
Did they have a lineup change and started playing slightly differently, or did they just
kind of? But they just kind of switched it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I used to make that joke about Fleetwood Mac all the time.
Oh, Fleetwood Mac, yeah,
Like,
two of your favorite bands.
Two of my favorite bands.
Yeah. Yeah, Cousin Joe had something on Facebook about, I always considered these guys the American Rolling Stones. And I was like, no, dude, it's the Flamin' Groovies are the American Rolling Stones. But they're also the American Beatles.
Right.
And I guess, according to Keith Richards' girlfriend at the time, the Rolling Stones were listening to tons of the Flamin' Groovies.
Nice.
And I guess they were really big in Paris. Like, they went over there and everybody loved them. Like, they were bigger in other countries than they were here.
Right.
Just because of their whole vibe, I guess. I don't know.
Interesting.
People in America weren't cool enough to appreciate the Flaming Groovies.
Sad.
But people in America might not be cool enough to appreciate the Lemon Twigs either.
It's true.
But I don't know. I mean, it seems like they're still playing like little clubs and stuff. Although they did open for the Killers on one tour, but that was early on before they like started really going their own way.
Right.
Or made Ghost to School.
Oh, man.
Yeah, like I love the vocals on that first song, the My Golden Years. You know, it's like Beach Boys vocals.
Totally.
With like Birds or Beatles music or The Knack or something, you know, the whole skinny tie power pop thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I also love just like straight ahead kind of rock and roll, like Rolling Stones kind of stuff. So this song is also from their 2024 album, A Dream Is All We Know. This is Rock On, live from KEXP.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, straight ahead of rock and roll. You know, it's like Moon Martin or something.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, it's cool. So that's kind of it for the Lemon Twigs. I have one more song to play. They're working on solo albums right now.
Okay.
Like each brother doing his own thing. So this came out last week. This is Brian Diodario with Till the Morning.
Wow. Yes.
So cool.
Sorry, Michael. That sounded like middle years Kinks. Like,
yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Well, that's Brian there.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, it's a total. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's like
because it's the solo album.
Yeah,
it's
maybe
like,
Brian's the one. The fire.
Oh yeah, Brian's. Yeah, Brian's like kind of the. Yeah, I mean they're both the front man, you know.
Right.
They're both the drummer.
I'm making a joke, but it's just like, that's the best I've liked everything so far, but that's the best because it's like,
oh, I know. When I heard that, I was like,
come off the Village Green Preservation Society.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah,
so it's so good.
Yeah. It's like I want strawberry jam and all the different varieties. Like,
right.
You know, as fun as cozy, Englishy sound.
Oh, man. Yeah, because, like, as much as I love their goofy early stuff, you know, where they're just going, like, crazy and it's all chaotic and fun and, like, ambitious and stuff, like...
Mm-hmm.
The way they're dovetailing and coalescing and crystallizing and coming together, it's like, it's still my favorite music. It's like, I love their old stuff for what it is, and I love their new stuff for what it is. Well, and I'm always excited about what they're going to do next, because they're so creative and amazing. And,
yeah, and you crushed it with the playlist, because like, you know, it was like, okay, yeah, I've heard this stuff. Okay, that's interesting. Oh wow, they're like, you know, phenoms, like super talented.
Yeah, I
little
kind of
kids.
wanted to show the
And then-
evolution.
Yeah, the evolution, and it was like, now I'm super excited because it's like, I'm not that big a, you know, like power pop's your favorite genre, but not mine. But like, I freaking love like that era of the Kinks. And
Well, prog is probably
so,
my
like,
favorite genre.
well, but like, my point is that it's like,
Yeah.
when you hear bands like Gygax, or what's one of the other bands we've been talking about, where it's like, oh, like the Night Flight Orchestra, or like bands like that have that kind of retro, on purpose retro sound. And it's like, this is like, I get to listen to like 4 more Thin Lizzy albums,
Kinks album,
or this 4 more, you know, like this, you know, like, oh man, it's like there's all this music that I love from like the 60s and early 70s and stuff. And it's like, man, I wish they would make music like that still. And it's like, oh, they do. It's so awesome.
Yeah, and it's not just that they're making music that sounds like that. They're doing it
like that.
Well, they're doing it like that, but they're not doing it like that. They're doing it that way.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Because it's more harmonically complex.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder to write music like that, and it's harder to record music like that. They're recording music in that manner because it sounds better.
Right.
And they're writing songs like that because it
like
sounds better.
Like complex.
It's the chicken and the egg thing again.
Totally.
You know, they're not derivative. They're doing things that way because they can, because it's the best way to do it.
Right.
And it makes better music.
Right. But like, it's harmonically complex, but also like super simple, that it's like, you can hear how small the drum kit was on that song.
Yeah.
But
it's
like,
not,
it's just
not fidgety or like complex for complexity's sake.
Yeah. It's just that super simple little like shuffle, like little pop shuffle. And
yeah, like in the first CBS thing, he talked about, you know, this is music that could only come out of our heads.
Right.
And that's what they're still doing. This is the music that's coming out of their heads.
Mm-hmm. Man.
So,
yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, way to go putting that as the cherry on top, man.
Yeah, I just wanted to show the evolution, and like, they're not done. I mean, yeah, Michael's 26 now.
Uh-huh.
And Brian's 28.
We have decades more.
Like, they're still young dudes, and they're only going to get better and do more cool, interesting, creative things. So that's the Lemon Twigs. I mean, hopefully I'm not like, because like, I don't know, I kind of listen to music in isolation, and hopefully these guys aren't like totally huge and like everybody's heard of them. It's like, oh yeah, those guys. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You know, like,
welcome on the bandwagon.
Because I mean, like early on, they were like on Jimmy Kimmel Live and things like that. But, you know, a lot of bands are.
Right.
You know, there's a show every night.
Right.
So
they got slots to fill.
Yep. But yeah, hopefully I'm turning on some new listeners and creating some new Lemon Twigs fans.
Yeah. Well, you made me a fan. So
cool.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. Their whole creative energy kind of reminds me of like a lot of the comedies we enjoy and a lot of the records we enjoy, and just like they're right in the mix of all that stuff. Plus with that brother energy is like relatable.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Yeah, it's like Goes to School is totally a project that you and I could have done.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you're just sitting around in your bedroom. Hey, what about this?
Yeah.
What
if it was a chimpanzee, but he was like raised like a human child and like went to school. Like, how would that suss out? How would that pan out?
Yeah, and if you've listened to our podcast, you probably already know, like, we play out the bit, you know, to like the bitter end. For
better or worse. Yeah, till it all burns down in a fire.
Yeah, Yeah, you just got to commit to it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good rabbit hole to go down if you want to check out the Lemon Twigs. I just hit highlights, a couple songs from each album, but like each album is kind of its own chunk. It's
a musical journey.
Yeah,
cool.
And I'm kind of a rocker, so I picked some of their more rockin' tunes, but they have more orchestral stuff, more like weird, kinksy piano stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like
oh yeah, that was the other thing from that last song was like that total church organ sound. That was like peak kinks.
Yeah, or like Procol Harum or something. Yeah, so good. And I mean, both of them can play guitar like that. Both of them can play drums like that. Both of them can play keyboards like that. Piano. It's like, yeah, who do you choose to like play which part? Because either one of them can do it equally well, but they're different, They're both unique within that. Yeah, and I like them both. I like it when Michael's the front man because he's just so goofy and confident and like theatrical. And then I love Brian because he just sings it straight and writes beautiful songs and like really creative. Anyways, I'll leave it up to the listeners to form their own opinion because I could just gush on and on about the Diodario brothers.
Cool. Well, I liked them.
Cool. So for next week, I think we're going to do a genre. Oh, yeah. We're going to do Sucking the 70s.
Yes. Speaking of bell bottoms.
Yeah. So for episode 31, we'll do Sucking the 70s. We're each going to pick our favorite 15 songs from the first and the second volumes.
I think there's only the two.
The two. Yeah. The first and second volumes. We'll pick our favorite 15 songs in case there's any overlap, and we'll refine that down to a list of 20 with each of our top 10 favorite cover songs off of Sucking the 70s compilation CDs.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar, it's like this 2 CD set, or Sucking the 70s and Sucking the 70s 2, Back in the Saddle.
Yeah.
Each 2 CDs, and they or 2 albums.
Yeah, they're both double CDs.
And it's like 70s rock songs done by like early 2000s stoner and doom rock bands.
Yeah.
So
there's already some of my favorite songs on there.
Yeah.
And there's already some of my favorite bands on there.
Right.
And there's some of my favorite bands on there doing some of my favorite songs on there. Yeah. It's like, it's all good, so good.
Yeah.
And it's on the heavier end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And Lemon Twigs was kind of light and fun and a nice little frolic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So tune in next week for down-tuned guitars.
For some heavy stuff.
Fuzz tone and some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our other favorite types of music.
Yeah. Ankle deep in bong water.
Yep. So we already did. I was going to wish you a happy birthday once again, but we already did your birthday episode. So.
True.
But happy birthday anyways.
Thank you. All right. So that was the Lemon Twigs. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope there's some new fans, some new Lemon Twig fans now. So thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Checking out music with my bro. Will it dig it? Yes or no? Here we go on with the show. The Hell Bro Podcast.
We like to produce ourselves. We know what we want,
We want a hit. That's what
we want a hit.
Rock hit. That's what
but
we
also
want.
we want good, really good sounds and arrangements.
My dream would be like if I was like 70 years old and I could say like I wrote the best song to date and people wouldn't laugh at me if I thought that.
I'd love to be in movies.
The new Jared Leto, man.
No, man, come on, man.